everybody, it's Bully4041 and welcome back to part 2 of my Model Horse Live show guide, specifically talking about the Breyerfest Youth and Children's Show. So in this one I'm going to talk about references and what you actually do on show day, some things you should have with you on show day, that kind of thing. So we're first going to start off with references. I have a few here. The middle one is obviously not a real reference, but I'm just trying to point out what you should be looking into on show day. So this is what your references should look like on show day. With the new rules for this year, you need to have a reference for every single model, and the reference can only be half a page of standard printer paper, so that's what I've kind of outlined here. It would kind of be this size, and I've starred a few things that you should have on your reference. The first thing is you should focus mainly on the breed characteristics and describing the breed standard, not so much the history of the breed unless it directly ties in to your model in some way. The judge is really going to want to look at that breed standard, know that you understand the breed standard and the breed characteristics, and then compare that with the model that you've presented them with. The next thing that I usually do include towards the end of my references is I include common colors in the breed, and if you sometimes in your breed reference, although it might be a common breed such as a thoroughbred, it might be a very rare color like Sato, who was a Palomino Sabino, so that would be what you would focus on rather than the breed characteristics, although for this show you should probably focus like a good amount on both. And when I include common colors, I definitely try to include the color that my horse is near the front, and the color that my horse is definitely should be included in that first and foremost. And then the next thing is that pictures are very important in your references. They should match your model in both conformation and color, and this includes not only if your model's Bay, but if your model's a Bay Tobiano, your reference picture should be a Bay Tobiano, not a Bay Overo, not a Bay Tobero, not a Bay Sabino. It should be the same color and pattern as your horse. And if you can also try to get it to be in the same pose that your horse is. I mean, really, if they can look at a picture and see your model in that picture, that really does very well to support both what you've said about the breed standard and your model. And the other thing with that is you have to be careful when you use Google Images, because if you click on an image, sometimes it's not actually the breed that you're trying to find an image of. So just be very wary, and when you're using Google Images, I also use Yahoo Images. Just make sure, visit the page and make sure it's actually the breed that you are trying to reference. So I've drawn a few pictures here, but you would actually have pictures off the internet here of just like what a Mecklenburg might look like, and then with Mecklenburgs and other breeds, they might have a breed-specific brand that you want to mention. So this is the Mecklenburg brand, and then because of this, like, she is actually a Mecklenburg horse, on this side of her, she actually has that brand, if you can see, right there. So she actually does have the Mecklenburg brand, which is why I don't really think that this mold, this model specifically, does well as any other breed other than a Mecklenburg, because she does have that breed-specific brand there on her hip. And that's something that you would want to mention in your reference. So this is a reference that I have for one of my custom horses, and this is how I would traditionally do my references, but again, remember, you only have half a page to work with, so all of this would have to be condensed down a little bit. But I include, the breed name, country of origin. Is important to know that your horse is going in the right class, because sometimes they'll separate, European ponies versus British ponies, just knowing the difference in that area. Then we have the average height, which you can also include in the characteristics, doesn't have to be separate. This one goes a little bit more into the history than I traditionally would in most references, but it does talk about, the type of the horse, temperament, character, and the common colors, and how they also have a brand, and how I've shown heritage to that as well. And then, of course, these are, images off the internet. So, and then the other reference that I would do as well, I don't know if there's a collectibility only class in Breyerfest, but if there is, this is one of my traditional collectibility references. So nothing about, the breed or anything. We're just talking about the model specifically and why it's collectible. So I just put what the model is, the name of the model, the mold number, model number, and how many pieces are produced. So that's my spiel on references. I hope this helps you. You can combine some of these ideas and such when making your own reference. Really, references is kind of an ongoing process and just figuring out and understanding what works best for you, and then building upon that and really improving your skills over time. But I hope this helps you at least get started, and then you'll figure out as you go on how you should change it and what will work out best for you. So the next part I'm going to talk about is the actual show day. First points I want to make before I show anything else is that when it is show day, you should arrive at the hall a little bit early, so at least half an hour to an hour before the show starts. In this case, Breyerfest, the hall opens at 7 o'clock and the show starts at 8, so if you have only 15 horses or so, you're probably safe waiting until 7:30. If you have 20 to 30 horses, you might want to end up going at 7. And you can go at 7 anyway, even if you have less horses, just to help yourself get oriented to the show hall and maybe even meet some other collectors before the show actually begins. And next is I usually have a blanket. Sorry, I had a hair in my mouth. I usually have a blanket to put on the table, such as this one that I'm using for this video. And it just helps as extra protection for your models, so if they do domino or fall, which does tend to happen during shows if someone hits your table, they have a soft surface to fall on and not just a hard table. And tagging, another important thing is to tag your models ahead of time. Don't wait until the morning of the show to do this. It can make the morning of the show very stressful, and you want to try to be as organized beforehand so that you can just go through the show relaxed and really taking in all of the information and all of the models and making friends and that whole thing. So have your models tagged ahead of time, and put your references in order of the classes. You can pack your models and put your models on the table in order of the classes as well. And again, as I said before, organization really makes the day easier. Just having all of this, all your references, all your tagging done, everything organized and in order before the show makes the show day a lot less stressful and a lot easier on both you and your parents. The next thing I'm going to talk about is class lingo. So when you're showing your model, they will call the class, and just as an example, they would say, class 1, Clydesdales, please come to ring 2 or 3 or whatever the ring was. And when they say that, that's when you take your model and you bring your model up to the table, and the tables will be marked, and they'll have tablecloths on them in different colors, and they'll be marked. There will be a marking with the ring number and the class that's currently on that table. So you'll just bring your horse up to that table, try to put them towards the outside, not too close to the edge, but also not completely in the middle, because you want your judge to get a good look at your model. And you should have them on their show side with the tag displayed like this, not with your name side down, but the breed information and your show number side down. So that's how you would do that. When the class usually stays open for about 5 minutes, and they'll say last call for class number 1 Clydesdales, and if they say that and you haven't brought your model up yet, you need to raise your hand or yell out, wait for me, I'm coming, one more, that kind of thing. And then if nobody else has any more models to bring up, they'll say class is closed, which means no more entries are allowed on the table, and the judges will start doing their counting and start their judging. And then once the judges have judged the class, it usually takes anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes for this to happen, so just be patient. They will say, class number 1, Clydesdales, in ring 3 has been pinned. Please come collect your models. And when they say this, it means that the ribbons have been placed. So you just go up and find your model, see if they have a ribbon. If they don't have a ribbon, or they have a ribbon anywhere from 3rd and lower, you can take your model back to your table. If they have a 1st or 2nd place ribbon, you bring them over to the championship tables and you put them in the correct spots. They have a place to put 1st places and 2nd places on opposite sides of the table, and they'll have a paper with the class written down, so you know that it's like the right class to place your model on that spot of the table in. And there's always going to be people, there's going to be class stewards, ring stewards. I think there's people just around the championship table to help you out if you're confused. So now I'm going to go into a little bit here. This is my, I guess, show bag. I don't know necessarily what you would call it, but you should always have a little pouch, little bag like this, and it just has a lot of important stuff in it. And I'll show you what I have in here. So the first thing I have is my show brush. This is a necessary thing to have. It could be any size. And you use it when you bring your horse up onto a table. You have to dust your horse off. Especially glossies or black horses, they get a lot of dust on them, and that can actually make them not place as well as they might otherwise. Specifically, you want to make sure that you dust in between the ears, because that is a place that a lot of people tend to forget. So just dust your horse off before leaving them on the table to be judged. So that's that. And then in here I also have just some tape. Always have extra show tags. I just have some Sharpies, some pens, tweezers in case I need those, and then I have some scissors as well, and that's the gist of what I have in there. You can add anything else to this that you might want to add as well, of course. I also have, I just had it out and I can't remember where I placed it. Oh, it's in here. But I also usually bring, in addition to my dust brush, I bring a washcloth just to like wipe the horses off with as well to help with dust. So this is what I would have in my little show bag. You can add anything to it that you want, but these are kind of the staples that you would want in your bag. And the next thing that I have is I have a little binder. It's not really a binder. It's more of an accordion style folder. And this is what I put my references in, and like my model list and the show packet and the class list. I'll put that all in here. So I just open my show binder, and I've actually done this. You can do this any way you want because only Breyers are allowed, so you could only put, like draft horses. You can separate it by like types, or alphabeticalize it or whatever, but this is where I put my references. So I have my OF Breyer and other make references in here, and then behind that I have my OF Stone references, and then I have my artist resin references. These are ones that, well, I don't actually have any in here right now, but these are for references that I have laminated and are like half a sheet in size. And then in the back I have my full sheet references, like the one that I showed in the last video, that take up an entire page, and those are all back here. And then behind those I would place the model list, the class list, and the show packet and all of that information just behind these references. So you can organize this however you please, but I like the style of the accordion folder. I think it holds things really nicely, more so than a binder in a folder. But you could also just do a traditional, ringed binder and then put different folders in that as well. That would work out just fine too. The other thing is you can buy your tags. You can find these folders, accordion folders, binders, laminate like paper sheets, the paper sheets to put your papers in that make them all laminated, and then tags. You can find Avery tags. I tend to find all of this at my local Walmart, but you can also find them in like Hobby Lobbies and craft stores and those kinds of things. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this part of the video. In addition, it also really helps to become familiar with what the show environment will be like, to watch past Breyerfest live show experience videos, pictures and videos. There's a bunch out there, and there's also a bunch of other live show guides too. So just really do your research and try to get yourself as best prepared as possible, and it really will pay off in the end. So the next, I'm going to do one more part to this, and it will be into the mind of a live show judge to help you better understand why a judge might place the way they do. So look out for that. Please go watch that if you're interested. Thank you so much for watching this part of the live show guide. I really hope that it helps, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.